Oh, cool. We're live. Okay. So, welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and RIZE presses. And I am here with, typically, with Ben and Peter Wright, two of our absolutely phenomenal acquisition editors, as well as sometimes we're blessed and have some of our other editors join us. But we're here basically to answer any old questions that you may have. It can be around publishing. It could be around writing. It could be, why the hell are you guys doing this? It could be about our upcoming catalog. It could be about marketing and publicity. It could be what we're seeing in the marketplace. I don't know, whatever. I'm just making crap up while I'm talking anyway. So, who cares? Anyway, if you do have a question, all you need to do is go ahead and toss that question into the comments section of whatever venue you may be dialing into. So whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we actually do load these onto TikTok. All you got to do again is just toss your question into the comments section, and then we will take turns in answering said questions. So I see that we are here now with Ben. So Ben, how's it going?
I made it. I heard you were all alone, so I showed up.
Oh, well, that was nice of you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. So what are you up to, young man? What's new and
Nothing.
shaking? Nothing.
Let's see. I got I think I said this last week because it was close last week, but we got the short story anthology number 9 off to production.
Woo!
And then Sarah Kuntz's collection of short stories is pretty close. It's
cool.
It'll be probably on its way to production either tomorrow or this weekend.
Okay. Wow. So, check you out.
So
you're all fancy.
We're rolling now.
Mm.
I have started another novel.
So oh wow!
We're back to not rolling.
That's awesome. Cool, and we got Peter. Woo woo!
How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you doing, young man? What's new and shaking?
Doing good. This spring's coming. It's actually in the 70s today, so weather's good, writing's good, editing's good, so all good here.
Nice. That is awesome. Man, you guys just knock it out.
What's that?
I said, you guys just knock it out.
We do what we can, right, Ben?
We do what we can.
Well, wait. Now, where are both of you with your own personal projects? Because I still believe we're supposed to see something from Peter. I'm just saying.
No, mine's moving. I'm moving now. Really sure.
Okay.
Yep. I say that honestly. I am working, and it's coming together. I found a new angle to come at it with. I'm really excited to try it because I haven't seen this technique done in many other books. So I'm sure it's been done 1,000 times before, but I haven't personally seen it, and it certainly hasn't been made the news lately. So it's a nice spin, puts a nice fresh turn on the characters that I can really plumb and dig into and make connections in different sort of ways. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Plus, I'm having a lot of fun leaving a couple of Easter eggs for the reader as they go along.
Oh my God, that's the best part, right? Like, let's see if they can figure this mess out.
Yeah, they're not going to catch this the first time through.
Right? Exactly. And let's see if I even remember I did it.
Well, unless you change the ending again, so there's always that.
Right? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, we've already got a bunch of questions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Rodney Hatfield, and hey, Rodney, he asks, so what is the quickest way to make you fall in love with a submission and the quickest way to make you throw it into the abyss and never see it again? So I'm gonna start that with Peter.
You can usually tell in the first couple paragraphs if it's worth going further. I mean, there's the the adage that get them hooked from the first sentence. You know, pull them in for the first sentence. And yet the novel that I'm editing right now, it didn't pull me in until the end of the first paragraph. And when it did, it just yanked me into the story, and there was no turning back. Yes, I've worked with this author before. Yes, I know their writing style. But it's quality stuff, and just yanked me in, fully immersed me in the story. I always page through or flip through a few more pages down the line, make sure they keep up the momentum, because a lot of people really polish those first 10 pages and let the rest of them, you know, just do the happy dance all by themselves. So I bounced my way through it. And as far as something that gets tossed into the abyss, is it? You're gonna know. I mean, you're just gonna know. Just like this does not. This needs at least 3 or 4 more full revisions before it's going to be good enough for us to look at, or for any press to look at, rather. And it's not insulting. It's not putting the writer down. They just haven't gotten there yet. That's all.
No, that's cool. That's fair. How about you, Ben? What do you think?
Well, we've talked about it before. Well, I've talked about it before, but during our acquisition meetings, one light bulb that went off is Peter's hook is good writing, and that's first. You give me good writing, I'll stick with you, and I'll find the story. Where my hook is the good story, and you give me a good story, I'll look for the good writing and see ways to improve it. So that's 2 different approaches, but it gets us to the same place, and it helps us have great conversations about what is good and valuable about a submission. And so with the good story, and then and I'm a big character guy. You give me a character that's going to carry the story, I'll jump in and get carried too. But which is it sounds commonsensical, but it's not easy, because that character fades. That character will fade out on you, and then others come in and bump that character sometimes, which is an interesting way. And if you make it look like that was intentional, or this has got to be done, then I'll go with you. But and then the quickest way to the abyss is if it's been done before and you're trying to be too cute with it. If no, this isn't Animal Farm, this is Animal Ranch. No, you've lost me already. And so there's things that have been done and shouldn't be touched again. Or if you're going to touch it again, you better be good about it. It's got to be good. And because there's any allusion to somebody else's work, especially some famous work that you're trying to make, it's transparent that that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to ride somebody's horse and somebody else's horse. And you need to ride your own horse.
Yeah.
How about that?
That was good. And now, wait. So Ben, before you've said what my hook is, and so I'm gonna piggyback on that. So for me, I think actually both Ben and Peter have commented in the past. If you don't have me by the first page, and it's got to be both narrative and character, then I'm gonna either be bored or I'm gonna get pissed off. One of them. It depends on what's wrong. And then if you don't have me hooked on both in the first 20 pages, I'm not going to keep reading. I almost never read a book for submission beyond the first 20 pages, because I pretty much know, actually usually within the first like 5 to 10, whether it's something that I think we should pick up. And it is obvious when we're in acquisition meetings about it, because we'll start and we'll go around the table, and if I'm like, no, and Ben and Peter will bring up like, oh, well, there's this and this and this that might, be solid. I don't know what they're talking about, because you already lost me, right? You lost me on page 10 or page 20. So, which is funny, because I'm actually one of the judges for IBPA's book award for the best first book award for this year. And they give you criteria that you have to look at when you're reviewing a submission. But some of these guys are probably going to get annoyed, because I can actually usually pick up themes within the first like 5 to 10 pages and I'll let them know, like, exactly to what both of these gentlemen have said. You know, if it's a theme that's been overused, if it's cliche, if you know, the characters just aren't well developed, and I'm going to tell you, you know. So I mean, I'm polite about it. I'm not super bitch, but yeah, I will tell you. And yeah, all the above for
it's a good thing.
Huh? Say that again. Sorry.
Saying that you if you don't see it, you're going to tell them. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That you've got to be open to that and take it, improve it, or say, okay, that's Lisa's opinion. I'll drive on somewhere else. But you need to hear it either way, because that's an opinion that you don't want to discount just because, well, that's one person.
Mm-hmm. And I do know we've had people who worked with us in the past that they would reach out to other people who've worked with us and ask, you know, should I listen to them? Right? Like, oh, I was assigned Lisa, or I was assigned Peter, or I was assigned Ben. And they said, I need to do blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do that. Should I listen to them? And let's just say the individuals that they reach out to generally will laugh and say, no, you need to listen to them. And then it gets back to me. And so it makes it really obvious when someone's annoyed at the feedback they've gotten. So quickest way to make me throw it into the abyss and never to see it again. Honestly, most books, it's if we give you feedback and you choose not to listen to it, and then you turn around and resubmit something to us as if we don't know that it still has challenges. That's really rather annoying, but it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen sometimes. So, all right. So what is the wildest, most unexpected story we've ever accepted, and the one that we still have nightmares about rejecting? Like, we wish we didn't reject. So I'm going to pick on Ben this time first.
The one that comes to mind, it was a short story for one of the anthologies. Maybe, let's see, we just did 9, so it may have been like anthology 6. So it's been a while, but I was reading it, and the whole way through it, I said, I'm not picking this story. Why do I keep reading it? Why am I giving this the time of day? It was about a mouse with a sword. Come back to the village, you know, what's that, anthropomorphic, and came back, and the parents were gone, and his friend came up and said, well, they're here, and they've got the girl, and you got to go save the girl. And so here's this mouse with his sword going through the woods, and I'm saying, why am I reading this? And he gets to the tower, and he's going to save the little mouse girlfriend, and he's climbing up the tower, and he falls. And it mattered when he fell. And I said, I'm glad I read this. Because suddenly it mattered. There was a point to it to where it was all against him, and he fell. He failed. And that was such an abrupt shift in the ending that you expected all the way through. You said, oh, this is going to be so sweet. He's going to go save the girl and kill the giant and happily ever after. But he doesn't make it up the tower. And I said, we got to take this book. We got to take this story.
Wow. Okay.
And so it was just that kind of twist on what you expected, leading the reader down one path, and then suddenly, nope, you're on the wrong path. And so that one was, it was just it was a shock to me, but we had to keep it in the anthology. And the one just have nightmares about rejecting. No, once I reject them, they're gone. They've been rejected for a reason that I don't dwell on or dream about. So no nightmares.
Okay. How about you?
But I think the some that have been rejected were some that they captured a scene but there wasn't any connection to the scenes for a purpose. What's the value of this scene, especially with short stories? This is a vignette. Here's a picture. Here's the club. Here's what everybody's doing. The end. Okay, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
Nobody fell off the tower, so I reject it.
Cool.
But did he keep the sword? That's what I want to know.
I think they landed on it. I don't know.
Maybe. So how about you, Peter? And what was the wildest, most unexpected story, and the one that you still have nightmares about rejecting?
Oh, I don't have nightmares. Once they're on the racing board, once they're passed over, I just forget about them. I got too much other stuff on my plate. I'm with my writing, the author I'm editing, the author that I'm communicating with back and forth. So it's like I just don't have that much storage space in my head. Most dramatic story that really, really surprised me. Well, Ben's story was so interesting. I didn't have time to think. I was listening to what he was saying. What happened to the mouse?
That's awesome.
I'll tell you though, the one story that I still remember, and it's not for a very good reason, but it was the second book that I edited. It's called The Magpie's Return. Kathy and I were just talking about it tonight. And it's a dystopian novel set in the future that ever since a certain thing has occupied the White House has been on the fringe of my memory ever since I read the book. I mean, it's that gripping. It's that scary. It's not cruel and insensitive or anything, but in how it treats the main character, a young teenage girl, that's just I've been praying since I read it that it never come to pass. But I haven't been able to forget the story. Just have not been able to forget it. I highly recommend reading it. I highly recommend don't look at it. It's kind of like two things because it's freaky. It's well written. I can say that because I know the editor.
Damn straight.
What about you?
Okay. We've actually had quite a few wild, unexpected stories that both, short story, novella, and long form. Actually, both Peter and Ben's pieces that they submitted. There's a reason these gentlemen are acquisition editors here. It's because they know how to effing write. I mean, they know what they're doing. So when I worked with them when they first submitted to Running Wild, I was like, and I worked with them, meaning as authors. I was like, you know what, these guys are pretty damn good. I think I need to reach out to them again and see if they want to actually, join forces. And then I'm right there with Ben and Peter. There isn't a single piece that we've rejected that I felt bad about. Honestly, because if it gets printed elsewhere, I'm thrilled for them. This isn't a competition with other presses. I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, well, we're so much better than you for whatever, right? Every publisher has a reason for existing, and a reason for picking those stories that they pick. And hopefully every author has a reason for picking the publishers that they select. So, I'm honestly, I'm thrilled, thrilled about it. And if it's something that when we get it, we feel like, man, this thing is amazing, then we immediately make them offers. And we've only had a couple who've declined our offers without having another offer on the table elsewhere. And again, like I'm thrilled for the author, right? That's their prerogative. They should go with what's gonna feel most comfortable with. So, yeah, we've only had a couple where I don't want to say that I wish we hadn't picked it up, but it was definitely a lot of lessons learned when we were working with the author on editing the piece. We've had a couple of those where it was like, okay, and if they submitted more works to us than we were. Now we know what the author's style is and what they will and will not do. And, you know, is this going to be a positive experience? Are we going to work well together? Or is this going to be something where, you know, it makes us question if it's something that we want to look at? So,
to our process, because
yeah.
we don't reject based on one person. We discuss it and say, what did you see? What didn't you see? Why are you a maybe no? Why are you a maybe yes? Why are you a yes? And we have those conversations to where anything we don't pick up has gone through a good screening and good conversations.
And we have
we don't go ahead, Lisa.
No, go ahead. It's all good.
We don't always agree either. I mean, we've accepted books where one of us has said, this isn't my style of book, but I'll agree with your word. I'll agree with your opinion of it, you know, and then we accept it. And some person just says, you know, that's not for me. I don't want to edit it or anything, but they still get accepted. So it's a discussion. It's a process that we go through with each and every submission we get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all I was going to go where I was going to go to, Peter, you know, and and if it's something where, you know, we have like a no or, you know, a couple of maybes and a yes or whatever, as long as at least one person says, you know what, I want to add this to my slate, like I'll be the editor for it, then, and there isn't no, you know, absolute adamant no, then, you know, most likely we'll pick it up. So, or minimally it'll become, in among the list of those that we'll consider to be picked up. Because to rather Ben's point from last week, we're now getting so many submissions, and I'm not saying that as a bragger thing. I'm just saying, like, you know, we're getting a lot more submissions than we have in the past. So that our last acquisition cycle, we had like 300 full-length works that we all said were minimally maybes, if not yeses. Excuse me. So, and we had to whittle that down to 30 to 40 pieces because, and for a small press, that's still a lot, right? So, you know, really, you know, and because we know we're small, and, you know, we know right now we can only do 30 to 40 pieces of work a year. That's another reason why, you know, we don't have nightmares about rejecting anything, right? Because it is what it is. You know, you gotta make it so it's manageable, right? So Cindy says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Cindy. It is so awesome to see you. I know you joined us like 20 minutes ago, but we all are very verbose in our responses, I guess you could say. Yeah. So I can't believe we're almost already at the half-hour point. So if anyone has any questions for us, no matter the venue you are on, go ahead, toss your questions into the comments section. We will then take turns in responding to said questions. And then if you are watching this and it's after the fact, so you're watching the recording, again, toss your questions into the comments section and we will do our best to respond. TJ says, verbosest with the mostest. That well, at least we're verbose and there's a point to it. I mean, that's good. So I was going to mention this. I will be at the San Francisco Writers Conference next weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to put a link to it in the chat in case anybody's curious and they want to check it out. It actually, I've never been to it before. Some dear friends have actually attended it before and been speakers for it, and one of our authors, actually, Jordan, she's the one who asked me if I would be interested in being one of the speakers this year. It looks like it's going to be a really good time. I'm going to be on a couple of panels, I think like 4. Also, if you want feedback on your work, it's set up so that you can, it's an 8-minute one-on-one sessions with agents or acquisition editors. And, obviously I'm one of the acquisition editors. So if you want direct feedback, I think it's either, you have a choice of either presenting like the first page of your work, or like if you've got a pitch that you want to present, you bring that and excuse me. We look at it together, so you're getting the feedback in real time. The other super cool thing about this is they have an absolutely free teen summit on Sunday. I'm looking for the Teen Writer Summit. I'm actually going to be one of the speakers for it, and the teens can also pitch work and get feedback on it. I just think this is so cool. It's such a great concept, because I know at least when I was a teenager, I could be easily deflated in whatever it was that I wanted to pursue. So having those who are in the industry there and able and willing to give feedback in real time to teens and be that like catalyst, I just think it's really cool. So that's where I'll be next weekend. Come check us out. It'll be a lot of fun. I think I've heard only fabulous things. So and now we're also in talks, by the way, so we also have the not the writing contest, the book contest. We're now doing a book contest with Alma College for students and alumni of Alma. So that's amazing. And we will be launching again the Drexel University's book award as well. We're going to be launching that. That'll be announced, I'd say, in the next couple of months. So definitely look out for those things, guys. All right. I've talked well enough. Ben, Peter, what do you guys want to talk about what do you guys want to talk about?
Go ahead, Ben.
We got the poetry anthology is closing in on March 1st. And we ideally we'd like to have more than 50 poems, but I'm not sure we're there yet. So that's still wide open and available for any poets or writers with old slush pile of poems laying around. We're still looking to fill that. That's the inaugural anthology of poetry for us. And then last week we looked at the benefit for the LA fires, and it was up to 150, I think, probably more than that this week. I didn't check it out before we came on, but that's good. Keep those coming in as well, those short stories.
I'll look at it now. I happen to be in submittable, so let's see.
Well, kind of a strange thing happened to me the other day. The husband of a dear friend of mine asked me if I would look at a poem that he'd written, and we've talked about that a couple of times. Like, what do you look for in a poem, or how do you edit a poem? And you both gave fabulous input. But I'm looking at this poem and I'm reading it. It's really heavy. And it's really well done. And I'm just trying to wrap my head about, I'm going to communicate back to him how he could fix or just tweak it or whatever to make it more accessible to the readers. And I keep coming at it from a prose editor's point of view. I'm not sure that's the right one, because it's not a rhyming poem. Very image laden, very emotional, very, very slow and heavy and heartfelt. So I'm kind of curious. I haven't asked if I can show it to anybody. I don't think I will, actually, because it's personal to him. So I'm just curious. That's just neat curveball that life threw at me. So that's one thing I'm kind of going through and making some notes on, and seeing how I'm going to respond to him about it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point of who that invisible audience is. And if you go in with an idea of this small section of people, that's who I want to write for, or get my point across to them. But to make it accessible, to widen it up that's the skill of writing the point. If you want to, maybe you just want to keep it in that small audience, so that's fine too. But just know that it's a small audience, where with a little bit of tweaking, you can broaden it out.
Right. Okay.
We were just asked for the link to the poetry anthology. So I put it in the chat, so it should show up in whatever venue you are. You'll find a link to the poetry anthology submission page. So
was TJ telling us that he didn't see it in Submittable? TJ, is that what you were telling me?
I think he was just saying, asking for the link. That's all.
Okay.
Because I found it.
There we go. Good.
Yeah, I found it, so that's good. I'm trying to think if anything wild happened in the last week or so. And I'm slightly brain dead. It's been a very a lot going on, I guess you could say, in the last couple of weeks. So thankfully I am based out of LA, but thankfully I haven't been impacted by my home is still standing. We do actually have members of Running Wild whose homes were destroyed, and who have been displaced. And I'm just thankful that they themselves are physically okay and have the support that they need. So let me think. Oh, I am actually in the middle of editing a fantastic poetry collection called Oversight Erasure. And it's by two phenomenal women. And it's basically taking historic works regarding women in history and creating poetry out of those historic works that represent those women's lives and how they were, I guess you could say, erased from history or lesser represented in a lot of cases. So it's in some cases it's like a really fun read, kind of like an FU. And in other cases it so really hits the emotional impact of that individual's life and how she was basically, I don't want to say forgotten, otherwise we wouldn't have found them, but I guess lessened, their impact on society was lessened. So I really am looking forward to, I'm on my second round of reads for this. I don't know, edits, I guess is better, edits for this. So I'm really looking forward to getting back together with the authors and just just tossing around some ideas of some other things we might want to do with it. And yeah, so that's my big editing work right now. Oh, and TJ says, thanks. He's like, indeed, I was a miss. In other words, he didn't see the link. So we just gave him to it. Gave him it. Man, tongue tied. Woo. So anyway. Is there any project
people in history who've been forgotten? There's a lot of rich history with individuals. If you don't mind doing the research and about the period or about the person, there's a lot of rich material to write about. If you say, well, I don't know what to write about, but if you've got any inclination towards history at all, it's full of people to write about and tell their story. Of course, you got to do the research and make it right, but it can be historical fiction or historical nonfiction, and you still get to put a modern spin on it. So there's material there, and it can be done, and it's good to read when it's done right.
Agreed. And on there's a meme right now on LinkedIn that speaks to that, which I'm actually looking for because it's actually a good. It makes a good statement. Basically, like, and the underlying question is, how is it that there are such significant occurrences in our history today that we don't know about or we don't hear about until like 50 years later, if that, right? Like who in our society decides what's significant enough to share to the broader world and what's not, and what gives them that right to make those decisions. And I mean, honestly, I'm like, it's so spot on that it's kind of scary how spot on this is. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can share it.
Historians are running 50 years behind.
15 years?
50 years.
Oh, 50 years.
History majors worked 50 years ago.
Maybe.
That's how we get stories from 50 years ago, because they're running behind.
Why can I not? Oh, there it goes. Okay. TJ says history is determined by the victors, i.e., those in power, and usually, let's see, and usually they'll just keep on coming back. Oh no, that's not it. Usually they to assure maintain power. He's not wrong. I mean, oftentimes, that is what the bottom line is. It's, how is this going to? And remember, a lot of our publications today struggle to have a following, and oftentimes they will then lean into those stories that are like, way over the top, right? Like where this can't be true, and it probably is not fully accurate, I guess you could say. But if it sells copies, then they're gonna publish it, and they're gonna continue to publish follow-up pieces because they need to sell copy. And I'm not saying that as a justification for what stories are selected, but it's a reminder as to how and why stories are selected, right? It's not necessarily because we need to know the story, and it's not necessarily because it's important to society. It's because they need to sell copy, So, unfortunately, but yeah, I put a link to it in the chat if anyone's curious.
It's the reason a dystopian novel works is because human nature doesn't change, and we may not use a rock on our brother's head anymore because we have automatic weapons, but it's still the same human nature that's driving the action, and so that's how it works. And so if you take, it doesn't even have to be a famous character from history. It's just somebody living through an event of history, and you can project the human nature on that person. You're making him up as you go, or her up as you go, but it's human nature doesn't change. It's still imperfect, and it's still worth writing about because that's the shared human experience that's the reason to tell a story in the first place. It shares the human experience.
One of my writing instructors, great writer, Richard Bausch, used to teach, why must the silence be broken? Why are you writing the story? Why does it need to be written? Who needs to read it? Why does the silence need to be broken? And I keep that in mind every time I'm writing. Why am I doing this? To what effect is it? Why does it have to be? Why can't I just move on and do something else? So,
well, and honestly, sorry, keep going. I was just going to say that's one of the key questions, and it's going to piss off a lot of people who get feedback from me. But my initial question is, why does the reader need to know this? Why is this important? And, you know, it's not just why is this important within the story, but why is the story important? And that doesn't mean that you have to write the next great American novel. It doesn't mean that, but, you know, the reader has to feel like they're getting something, or they're going to get something out of reading this story. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do that, then you need to figure it out, and you need to put it in there. So I didn't want to forget. So guys, we're actually going to be moving this from Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time to Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to start that next week. But so I didn't want to forget to let you guys know that you're going to see that change. If you can't make Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, it's not a big deal. You can still check out the recordings. But for those who really like to watch it live, figured, you know, we better let you know. So.
We're looking for a whole new crowd on Wednesday nights, but Thursday night crowd is still welcome.
Yeah, you know, because they're going to come in just waves and waves of people.
Yeah. Wednesday night crowd is so much bigger.
Oh, yeah. And much more responsive, right? We're going to get tons of emails or texts and you name it. So TJ's like, live? I thought you were all AI. Well, you know, we do our best to pretend that we're AI, but
AI would say that though, don't you think?
Well, that's true. Cool. Oh, so I was going to ask, so both Ben and Peter, is there anything, like any project that you've been dying to work on yourself that you haven't had a chance to start working on? And why do you think it's cool?
What type of project are you talking about?
Whatever you want.
Book?
Yeah, sure.
My plate is full of projects right now. My biggest thing right now is I'm redesigning my website and going at it with GoDaddy, trying to get it to do the simplest things. So it's taking me the last couple of days to work on. So hoping to release it, publish it soon. But that's my biggest hurrah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I keep writing a bunch of poetry collections, but there are ideas for novels that keep coming back up. And actually the short story I submitted for the benefit, the LA benefit, it's got novel screaming in it. It's you got to tell us more about these people. And so there's that one that just came up. I've got to get back to a piece called Guilty Davis. That's his name, Guilty Davis.
Okay.
And it's not even halfway, maybe a third of the way through, but it's more prose. It's not poetry, it's prose. And then Haunted Cutter is still waiting for me to get back there too. So I just keep writing poems to keep me from writing novels. It's a great strategy. I haven't written a novel yet.
Well, I mean, you've written narrative poems that actually kind of fulfill the whole, well, more novella, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's because the characters are there and they need to tell their story. And even just the poem collections of, like the one coming out from Running Wild Press in 2026 down along Highway 90. It's still people based. It's character based. It just happens to be a collection of people in a place, and And the place is down along Highway 90 in South Central Kentucky. So it's story based. At the core, it's a story. Mm-hmm. It's not an esoteric poem. I don't get anyway. I don't understand that. Nobody wants to read that. I don't.
Well, I would have told
you.
Why
would I want to write something that nobody wants to read?
I would have told you that when I was going through it. So, you know that.
Well, I think it's the limited audience. There is a limited audience. But again, it's why publishers say no poetry, please.
Well, because they feel like they can't sell it, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, like both of you, I've got tons on my plate, but I've got ideas for a detective mystery novel series. I was dared to use the structure of Dune and create a whole new series based on that, which I honestly find absolutely intriguing to do that. But that's one of those that, like, you've really got to dive into it to make it work, you know, and to do it effectively. So I have so many projects on my plate right now. I need to knock these out before I can jump into that dare. And then I'm honestly not bold enough to write poetry. I think I was asked to write one poem, and I had Ben basically edit it for me because I was like, "Is this crap?" So, I mean, they took it. It was published in the collection, but yeah, I'm not. I don't feel as though I'm. I don't think I could write a narrative poem collection. So, TJ says, my strategy is to include my poems as songs in my fantasy books and use them to help build the world. That's actually pretty smart. I'd say some of the most effective poetry I've seen recently were included within a collection or included within a novel and used as a, I don't want to, not as a summary, but, you know, like a key point, or to reiterate a key point within the book, or use to really more thoroughly develop the characters. I mean, really gorgeously done. Yeah.
Chip the glasses, break the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Tolkien was a master at it. He brings into the drawer singing.
Okay.
That's in chapter 1 somewhere.
Okay. All right. Interesting. But
I would remember and quote The Hobbit.
Okay. Interesting. Was that an actual quote from The Hobbit? Somehow I don't feel as though it was.
One of the songs they sing.
All right. I'm totally looking this up.
What does Bilbo Baggins hate?
Break the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
I still think you made that up.
It's in
my God!
Unexpected Party in The Hobbit.
It's actually,
after it's over, the dwarf started cleaning up.
It's in the movie. That doesn't mean it's in the book.
No, it's in the book. In the movie. I'm insulted.
It's in the movie. Yeah, chip the glass and break the plate. Why the hell do you even remember that? I mean, damn.
So, that's my superpower or my condition, one or the other. I'm not sure which.
And it might be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Both a superpower and a condition. All right, now I have to share this because here's a link to the movie.
I pulled him out. I knew it.
TJ says, you found me out. I'm a hobbit with a glandular condition. Yeah, clearly that's what made you so tall. Oh, wow. That is fabulous. Dump the Crocs in a boiling bowl, pound them up with a thumping pole, and when you finished, if any are whole, then send them down the hall to roll. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
Okie padokie. Oh my. Well, guys, you've only got us for another 10 minutes. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and toss them into the comments section of whatever venue you may be joining us. And if you are watching this and you're watching the recording, again, feel free to go ahead and toss your questions into the comments section because we will just go over it next week. Oh, okay. How about this? Is there anybody, Ben and Peter, that you've always wanted to learn from or that you always wanted to meet?
Living or dead?
I said Dylan.
Dylan? Okay. Yeah, living or dead.
You say Bob Dylan?
He is living and dead, so it's okay.
You say Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
Just hang out with him, have a couple drinks at the bar, and just hear one of his stories. Where did you come up with this?
Why did you come up with
that?
I can see that.
I'm not locked up.
Why are you not what?
Locked up.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I actually did a Poe virtual in person, like they set up a house so that it's like each room represented a different Poe, either poem or story. And at the end of it, they gave you what's it called? The liqueur that he was known for being addicted to.
And this concludes the tour.
And this, yeah, here you go. Have at it. Oh, okay. Absinthe. They gave you a glass of absinthe at the end of the tour.
Yeah.
Glass of acid.
I was going to say, it wasn't bad. The absinthe was actually pretty good. So, not that I could remember the tour now because I had some absinthe, but. Yeah, it was fun. That was in New York. That was when I used to work in New York. I've never seen anything like that again, but yeah. Cool. All right, guys, you don't have much longer for us. So go ahead. And again, don't forget, don't join here on Thursday, join on Wednesday, moving forward at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be a nice.
There was a line that John F. Kennedy had said. It's kind of the same thing with who you would like to meet. John F. Kennedy was talking about the night he had all the Nobel laureates over to the White House, and he was a dinner for all the Nobel laureates. And Kennedy said, there hasn't been this much brain power in the White House since Jefferson ate alone. A great plug for Thomas Jefferson's brain power. And he said, it's good to have y'all back. You look back and see who you admire, and then say, what if I wrote about him? What if we did have that conversation? You started that story already, Peter. I'm expecting it now. You met him at the bar, or you met some stranger at the bar, and said, "Wait a minute."
All I got to do is show you my master's thesis. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me talking to Poe.
Oh, cool.
Going over writing exercises or writing styles, writing points, use of images, why you use certain images, why you don't use certain images, why you structure sentences the way you do, the short ones for a reason, the long ones for a reason, leading your writer into something, reading them up, leading them back out, so that you're guiding the reader through the story as opposed to just telling it. You're giving them the path on which to walk. Oh, it was great. It was fiction, and my advisor accepted it. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah.
Good for your advisor.
What's that?
Good for your advisor to do it.
Yeah.
Say, yeah, I'll go with you.
Hit all the points.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Like I was talking about the hubris of graduates once they get out of a master's program. I think their stuff is perfect, doesn't need to be edited or anything like that. I shopped this thesis around as many places as I could. Not even a whimper. Not even a thank you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we've all experienced that to some point, right? Where something got a lot of great attention, either like in school or among those that we shopped it with, like among, our group, or like at a workshop or something. And then when we try to put it out to market, it was like, except for Ben, just you and me, Peter. Ben, obviously, everything he's ever done's been accepted somewhere.
We had at Tampa, we had a third term essay we had to write, and I wrote it on warrior poets, and the basic thesis was that warrior poets are some of the most anti-war people there are, and they because of what they've seen, and we should listen to them. That was the kind of the point. Listen to the warrior poets, because they've been there and they know what they're talking about. So don't memorialize it. Don't glorify it. This is the points they're making. And it was picked up in a collection of essays. So there you go.
Oh, excuse me.
Lisa's point.
I was validating Lisa's point, but it was advice to young poets. That was the anthology. And so it was accepted in the right place. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten any traction either. But it was, what would you tell a young poet if they were looking at being a poet, writing poetry? So the warrior poets are a good place to start, because it's not esoteric. It's lived experience that is part of human nature that never changes. We'll circle it back around to that.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody I've met who was famous or in some way iconic, everyone I thought would be a dick was actually some of the kindest, most generous individuals, and everyone I thought would be like cool and to hang out with or whatever were just raging jerks. And I think I can say those broad generalizations confidently. So, but I think that actually also goes back to Ben's point. The people I assumed were going to be cool, they were still on their upward momentum, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? And so I think they were still feeling out the whole like, oh, everyone knows me, and I'm getting attention. And so they were still kind of full of themselves because of that. And then everyone I thought might be a jerk were and really were iconic. I think they'd been through enough in their careers that they knew better, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't a reason to be a jerk, because we're all here and we're all just doing what we can, So, yep. Awesome.
The kind of the subtle values of an MFA program, because you're all there for the degree, but you're hearing some good stuff, and of course, the program you go through at the time you go through it will say was this. That was some good talent there.
Mm.
And
well, I hope so.
yeah,
I mean, hopefully they're
Tampa chose me, so it's questionable.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, they said, let's get him before we end the program. Let's get him. Then we'll have an excuse for ending the program. So, yeah.
That's all right. Well, people can experience you now where you teach. So whole nother thing. All right. Well, then with that, I want to thank, as always, Ben and Peter for showing up, and everyone who was on the line who joined us. So TJ and Carol and Rodney and Cindy, you guys, as always, are amazing. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week on Wednesday, same bat time. Cool? Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you then.
We'll see you Wednesday.